I guess on the first episode, I said, my cars are going to shape the world.
Chad Hiltz, known by many fans around the world through his show Bad Chad Customs, is a car builder who became famous for turning old, broken, and unwanted metal into amazing custom cars. His story is not just about cars, but about creativity, passion, and thinking differently from others. What makes his journey special is that he did not start with a big factory, rich sponsors, or expensive tools. Instead, he started with almost nothing and slowly built his name by using scrap materials and pure imagination. Many people saw junk when they looked at old cars or metal pieces, but Chad saw something completely different. He saw potential, beauty, and a chance to create something unique. Over time, his work became popular because it was different from normal car building shows. Instead of only focusing on perfect designs or expensive restorations, Chad focused on creativity and transformation. He showed that even broken things can be turned into something meaningful. This idea inspired many viewers because it was simple but powerful. People connected with his mindset of build with what you have. As his skills grew, so did his audience. People started noticing his unusual builds and bold ideas. His garage became a place where imagination was more important than rules. This is what eventually led to the creation of Bad Chad Customs, a show that shared his journey with the world. It was not just about cars, it was about a man who believed that creativity can come from anywhere, even from scrap metal and old forgotten machines. Chad Hiltz was born in Canada in a small town where life was simple and closely connected to machines, tools, and everyday work. From a young age, he was exposed to engines, metal, and mechanical work. His father worked at a gas station, and this environment played a big role in shaping Chad's interest in vehicles. Instead of playing with toys like other kids, he often looked at machines, tools, and broken parts with curiosity. He wanted to understand how things worked and how they could be rebuilt or improved. One of the most important moments in his childhood was working on old cars with his father. These early experiences helped him develop a strong interest in car building. He did not see cars as just transportation. For him, cars were something that could be shaped, redesigned, and turned into art. This idea stayed with him as he grew older. Even though he had a passion for building, his life was not always easy or clear. Like many young people, he tried different jobs and followed a more traditional path for a while. He even studied auto bodywork in college. However, he did not feel fully satisfied with structured education. He was more interested in learning by doing, experimenting, and creating things in his own way rather than following strict rules. This early stage of his life shows an important part of his personality: independence. Chad was not someone who liked to follow limits. He wanted freedom and creativity. This mindset would later become the foundation of his career as a custom car builder. Even before fame or recognition, he already had a strong desire to build things differently and express himself through metal and machines. As Chad grew older, he worked in several different jobs, including factory work and other manual labor positions. These jobs helped him survive, but they did not satisfy his creative mind. He always felt a strong pull toward building cars and experimenting with metal. No matter what job he did, his thoughts always returned to cars and design. He would imagine new ideas, shapes, and transformations in his mind. Eventually, he decided to fully follow his passion. This led him to start working on cars more seriously. Without having expensive tools or a professional workshop, he used whatever materials he could find. Old metal, scrap parts, and damaged vehicles became his main resources. Instead of seeing limitations, he saw opportunity. This was the beginning of his unique building style. He became known for using very simple tools and materials in very creative ways. Even things like wire hangers or old steel pieces were turned into parts of custom cars. This unusual method made his work stand out. While other builders focused on polished perfection, Chad focused on imagination and transformation. His goal was not just to fix cars but to completely change them into something new and artistic. Over time, people in his local area started noticing his work. They were surprised at how he could take something useless and turn it into something impressive. His reputation slowly grew, and more people began visiting his garage to see what he was building next. This early phase of his career shows that success does not always require money or big resources. Sometimes, it only requires passion, creativity, and the courage to try something different even when others do not understand it. As Chad's work became more recognized, he created a space that would later become very important in his journey. This was his custom garage, often associated with the name Green Goblin Customs. It was not a fancy workshop. It was a simple place filled with tools, scrap metal, and unfinished projects. But for Chad, it was more than just a garage. It was a creative world where imagination came to life. Inside this garage, Chad built cars that shocked many people. He was not afraid to take risks. He often started projects without a clear plan, letting the design evolve as he worked. This method was unusual but effective for him. He believed that creativity should not be restricted by strict rules. Instead, it should flow naturally. What made his work even more interesting was his ability to see beauty in damaged things. While most people wanted new parts and perfect materials, Chad preferred old, broken objects. He believed that these objects had stories and character. By rebuilding them, he gave them new life. This idea became a key part of his identity as a builder. As more people discovered his work, his reputation grew beyond his local area. Fans began to appreciate not just the final cars, but the process of building them. Watching him work became inspiring for many because it showed that creativity does not require perfection. It requires vision. This stage of his life helped shape the foundation for what would later become a global audience and a television show. A major turning point in Chad's life came when he met Jolene McIntyre. At the time, Chad was already building cars and gaining attention, but his work was mostly independent. Jolene brought a different kind of strength into his life. She was organized, practical, and had a good understanding of communication and business. While Chad focused on creativity and building, Jolene helped structure and manage ideas in a more stable way. Their meeting was simple but meaningful. It started with curiosity about Chad's unusual car designs. Jolene saw something special in his work, not just as machines, but as creative art. Over time, their connection grew stronger, and they began working together. This partnership became very important for both their personal and professional lives. Together, they created a balance. Chad brought imagination and hands-on building skills, while Jolene brought planning and direction. This combination helped their projects become more organized and visible to a wider audience. It also helped turn Chad's garage into something more professional. Their teamwork eventually became the foundation for Bad Chad Customs. Fans were not just watching car builds anymore. They were watching a partnership built on trust, creativity, and shared vision. This relationship helped transform Chad's local reputation into something much bigger, setting the stage for television success. The launch of Bad Chad Customs on television marked a huge moment in Chad's life. The show introduced his work to a global audience and allowed people to see his unique building style in detail. Unlike many other car shows, this program focused more on creativity, storytelling, and transformation rather than competition or luxury builds. Viewers were drawn to the raw and honest approach of the show. It did not feel overly scripted or artificial. Instead, it showed real people working in a real garage, facing real challenges. Chad's personality also played a big role in the show's success. He was passionate, direct, and fully focused on his craft. Each episode showed different car builds, often starting from damaged or forgotten vehicles. These cars were then transformed into powerful and artistic machines. Fans enjoyed watching the entire process, from beginning to end. It was not just about the final result, but about the journey of creation. The show also highlighted the teamwork between Chad and Jolene. Their different strengths made the show more balanced and interesting. Over time, Bad Chad Customs gained a strong fan base. People appreciated its honesty and creativity. It stood out in the world of automotive television because it focused more on imagination than competition. Throughout his career, Chad worked on many unique and impressive builds. Each project showed his ability to transform old, broken vehicles into something new and exciting. One of his most appreciated skills was his ability to design without strict rules. He often started with rough ideas and shaped the car as the project developed. Some builds involved restoring classic cars while still keeping their original character. Others were completely reimagined into bold custom machines. His work often combined old styles with modern performance, creating a unique blend that attracted attention from car lovers. Fans especially enjoyed watching how he handled difficult projects. Instead of giving up on damaged vehicles, he embraced the challenge. He believed that every car had potential, no matter how broken it looked. This mindset became a key part of his identity as a builder. His garage became a place where creativity had no limits. Each project was different, and every build told its own story. This variety kept viewers engaged and made his work stand out in the automotive world. As time passed, Bad Chad Customs eventually stopped airing on television. There was no major announcement or clear explanation, which left many fans confused. However, behind the scenes, there were challenges. Working in television often comes with pressure, deadlines, and creative limitations. Chad, who valued freedom in his work, found this structure difficult over time. Because of this, he and Jolene decided to step away from television and focus on their own creative path. This allowed them to regain control over their work. Instead of following network demands, they returned to creating content in a more personal and flexible way. They began sharing their projects online, especially through platforms like YouTube. This gave them the freedom to show every part of their creative process without restrictions. Fans continued to support them, appreciating the honesty and raw creativity. Today, Chad's legacy continues through his work and influence. He remains an example of how creativity and passion can turn simple beginnings into something meaningful. His story shows that success is not only about fame or money, but about staying true to your vision and continuing to create, no matter the challenges. After Bad Chad Customs stopped airing on television, many fans were left confused and curious about what really happened. There was no big final episode, no emotional goodbye, and no clear explanation at the time. For a show that had built such a strong connection with viewers, the silence felt sudden. But behind the scenes, life was still moving forward for Chad Hiltz and his team. The end of television did not mean the end of creativity. In fact, it marked the beginning of a new and more independent phase of his journey. Once the pressure of TV production was gone, Chad returned to something he valued deeply: freedom. Television had given him exposure, but it had also brought schedules, deadlines, and expectations. Every build had to fit into a production timeline, and that sometimes limited his natural creative flow. After stepping away, he could finally slow down and focus on building cars without external pressure. This change was not easy at first. When someone is used to working under constant deadlines, sudden freedom can feel strange and unstructured. However, Chad slowly adjusted. He returned to his workshop mindset, where ideas could grow naturally without interruption. He began working on smaller projects, experimenting again, and reconnecting with the pure joy of building. Instead of thinking about ratings or episodes, he focused on the process itself. This shift allowed him to rediscover why he started building cars in the first place. It was never about fame or television, it was about creation, imagination, and transformation. Even though the TV show ended, interest in his work did not disappear. Fans continued to follow his journey online, waiting for updates and new builds. This gave Chad a different kind of audience, one that was more direct and personal. Instead of reaching people through television networks, he could now communicate with fans in a more real and unfiltered way. This transition marked an important turning point in his life and career. After leaving television, Chad and his team began focusing more on online platforms, especially YouTube. This change allowed them to share their work without restrictions. Unlike television, where editing, timing, and storytelling were controlled by producers, YouTube gave them full freedom. They could show the entire process of building a car, from the first piece of scrap metal to the final finished machine. This raw and unedited style quickly attracted attention. At first, the growth was slow. Building an online audience is very different from being on TV. On television, viewers are automatically introduced through the channel. On YouTube, creators must build their audience step by step. But Chad's unique personality and building style helped him stand out. People were drawn to the honesty of his work.